There are voices from the future, and they're calling all of our needs. Whose voices do you hear? Whose voices do you heed? And how do you?
I think it's so interesting that if you walk around campus, there are historic markers sort of sporadically placed. There's one on Bascom Hill that talks about campus being a center for protest, but it doesn't mention at all that the Black student protest and the Black student strikes, for example, was one of the largest, if not the largest protest on campus.
So my first name is Harvey and my last name is Long. I arrived in 2014 at the University of Wisconsin-Madison to pursue a master's degree in library and information studies.
When I came in 2014, as a part of my fellowship in the library and information studies program, I worked in the university archives. And I noticed that Black students were essentially erased from the narrative of the university. Everything that we have in the university archives is from the perspective of the administration. So the Black student voice, in a sense, is erased. So I immediately wanted to restore this narrative and sort of contextualize the experiences of Black students from the perspective of the Black student, because it was missing.
I'm Sandra Adele. I've been teaching in Afro-American Studies in this department since 1989. This is not the first cultural center. This is the third. And my hope is that as students pass through the cultural center, they are leaving things and building on it so that it continues to be a strong institution within this larger institution and not end up going the way of the Afro-American Center, which was founded in 1969. In 1967, all right, that's when Wisconsin State University at Oshkosh began recruiting Black students to its campus.
Wisconsin instituted what it would eventually call a 5-year program or 5-year plan, which was essentially a scholarship or resources established to bring more students of color on campus.
In the 1960s, Oshkosh was considered what blacks and whites alike used to call the sundown town. That is, you need to leave by sundown. That first year, about 70 Black students arrived in Oshkosh to enroll in that school. Now, for the people in the town, this was an invasion. But for the Black students in Oshkosh, the place was awful. They were discriminated against everywhere because although the school was trying to welcome them, the community did not.
So during the 1960s at Wisconsin, you have more Black students on campus than you've had in its whole existence since 1848, And the institution, quite frankly, isn't equipped to deal with this new constituency or this new student population, because for the longest it had been white students. By the late 60s, Black students are fed up with their experiences on college.
The Black Student Union, they were determined to have their voices heard. They decided to take a drastic action. So on Thursday, November 21st, 1968, and this is called Black Thursday, about 94 members of the Black Student Union marched uninvited and unannounced into the office of Roger Giles, that was the president of the Wisconsin State University at Oshkosh at the time, and confronted him about their demands. They were dissatisfied with the president's response, so they trashed his office. The police in riot gear quickly mobilized. They arrested the students, took them to jail in a Hertz rental car. The arrest and the subsequent dismissal of the Oshkosh 94, as they're called, set off a firestorm and protest here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. A week after the Oshkosh 94 were dismissed, a group of students in Madison calling themselves the Black People's Alliance submitted a similar set of demands to the university administration, and they included increasing the number of black students on campus to 500. So the students launched into, on this campus, UW-Madison, launched into their own forms of protest. So by the time of the Madison Black student strikes, then efforts were already underway for an Afro-American cultural center. An article then in the November 26, 1968 issue of the Daily Cardinal said that the students disrupted classrooms, marched through several rooms and the Memorial Library chanting, "Oshkosh, hey, sock it to me, Black Power," pounding on tables and walls in rhythm to the chant, you know. Of course, they didn't get away with any of it. So some of them were attacked by the police, others were expelled and never returned.
The administrators, for example, they called out the National Guard because they were afraid of the black students on campus and their ability to mobilize other students. I think there are multiple variables that contribute to the campus climate and the establishment of these institutions, sort of the institutionalization of Afro-Am and the cultural centers.
I came on campus in '69, and a year before I came on campus, what they call the Afro-Am and Race Relations Center was open, and that was my safe haven. That was my home. I currently serve as the Director of External Relations, Partnerships, and Development for the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Educational Achievement. What was happening on campus was happening nationally, somewhat similar to now, right? The issues that were happening nationally were sort of manifested on campus as well. It was a space where we could become aware of what the issues were, how to align ourselves with whatever cause or issues spoke to our hearts individually. It was not a monolithic thing, but we all were sort of feeling like we were in it together.
Its initial function, the first being as a sort of sanctuary. It was a place in which black students could gather. Away from the white gaze, they could also celebrate black culture.
To see the libation, to see the sort of passing of the torch and seeing that being coming to fruition again on campus, it was heartwarming.
I am Karla Foster at UW. I am the interim program coordinator for the Multicultural Student Center, laying the foundational work for the Black Cultural Center, and I'm also the African American campus and community liaison for the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Educational Achievement. How did it feel to be given the responsibility to lay the foundation of the Black Cultural Center? It was very humbling. It's been a very humbling process, but I am very honored to be able to create or help and assist and lay the foundational work to create that space for my students at a predominantly white institution at UW-Madison. The soft opening was fun. It was meaningful. It was necessary. Absolutely pay homage to those who came before us, the voices in the future that are calling our names, right? And then also to definitely pay homage to the Ho-Chunk Nation and whose land and the indigenous land that we live on. I hope to see the cultural center, the Black Cultural Center flourish. I hope to see the black students who occupy this space take ownership of this space, right? Be intentional about how they want to shape this space and how they see this space to best serve them.
This university, as we know it today, would not exist without black student activism. So those are some of the tangible results that you can see from black student activism. And I think that is the most encouraging thing to me. So continue the fight because it pays off. We should leave any space better off than how we found it. And that when people come after us in the future, you know, they're depending on us to make this place, to shape it and mold it so that, you know, our children or people in the future can come and actually thrive in the space. Those voices who are calling out to us, telling us to, you know, to continue to fight, continue the struggle.
Voices from the future, and they're calling all our neighbors. Whose voices do you hear? Whose voices do you heed? And how